Hello, everybody. Beaming in from Chicago. John here. Good to see you guys. I'm going to start the TikTokers right now as we speak. TikTok. One moment. There we go. Go live. Be free. I always think of the flying monkeys. There we go. Ooh, and TikTok is live. Let me just see who the first TikToker is. I always enjoy doing that. And introduce yourselves, guys, where you're from and all of that, if you would. All right, waiting for the first TikToker. Cammie, you are the first TikToker joining us. Thank you. And hello, everybody. Woo, I made it. I am in Chicago, thus the land of wood paneling, visiting my mom. Hey, everybody. Woo. Rosemont, hello. Oh, so hope everybody's doing well, survived Easter or whatever you did or didn't pass over or whatever you weren't celebrating this weekend. Evening from Scotland. As always, guys, give a little hello from where you're from, if you would. We take a couple minutes just to let folks kind of, and the sunflowers are always welcome, of course, but we take a couple minutes just to let folks kind of drop in before we get started. So I always like to have people just introduce where you're from, which is kind of nice. What do we got? Tennessee, Michigan, Wisconsin, Washington State. We do have a lot of Americans. Denmark, excellent. I was afraid this would be a bad time for the Americans, but we actually have a lot of you guys today. I'm surprised. Sweden. What else we got? Mexico, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas. Good. Scotland. Well, again, I figured we'd have a lot of the Europeans. Somebody's Alaska. We get an Alaskan who checks in regularly. Canada, we get a lot of you guys. Nebraska, California. You know, I am surprised we got a lot of Americans. I was a little worried this was going to be early for you guys, but evenings, Portugal. Evenings I spent with Mom, who's probably going to be sitting in the hall eavesdropping on me, I'm sure. That's pretty much a guarantee. And at some point, the dogs are going to be barking too, because we now have 2 dogs in the house. My dog is able to look out the window and defend the house from anybody daring to walk within 300 feet. So just be prepared. Oh, that's about 100 meters. She sees people all the way down the block. They're this big, and she goes insane. So be prepared for dog craziness, mom craziness. Anyway, but yeah, usually we go till maybe 5 after. Let's see. We give it a couple minutes just for folks to say hi and for people to pile in slowly. Hey, guys. I put on my little, I can see you guys. Put on my glasses so I can see a little bit better. Thank you for my first crown of the day. And I've got my, I got my little contraption. I bought an extra arm for my phone. So I've got you guys right here in front of my YouTube, which I like. TikTok is up there. YouTube is down there. And I even got a little ring light. Here, I can show you guys on TikTok. There you go. You can see it on YouTube too, which helps a little bit because it kind of fills in. I've got a cheaper one than my one in DC, but it actually works pretty well. Thanks for the hat. Only thing is it is a little weird. I'm going to have to get used to doing this at Mom's. You can tell I'm speaking more softly. At home, I'm used to just like putting on a show. And here I know Mom's in the other room, so it's very weird. All right, guys, maybe another minute, and then we'll dive in. It's fewer. It's definitely fewer. Then again, today's Monday. I never know kind of how that works. There's definitely fewer people than normal on TikTok. YouTube as well, but again, it's kind of a goofier time for the Americans, better time for the Europeans. So, you know, and Mondays are always iffy. You never quite know how Mondays are going to be. Anyway, folks, we're just introducing ourselves in the comments. Like I said, maybe one more minute, and then we'll dive right in just to give folks a chance to arrive. I am John Ervosis in Chicago. Hello, Poland. Visiting Mom in Chicago. Mom is good. So, South America, Guyana. Wow. I never meet anybody from Guyana. That's interesting. Well, very interesting. What else? I don't know. All right, we're about ready to start. TikToks looks like it's about to hit 2,000. Usually we go for 3,000, but that's more of an evening thing. So like I said, daytime is always up for grabs. Austria, Finland. I'm sorry, Austria. I'm saying it like I'm Italian. Or no, that's not even Italian. What would it be in Italian? Austria. In French, it's what? Autriche. I don't remember what it is in Italian. That would be Spanish, probably Austria. Ooh, guys. New attacks on the Orthodox Church. Oh, I've been reading about the Orthodox Church stuff. That's been fascinating. All the Eastern European, well, my church is Orthodox too, Greek, but you got the Russians. It's a very interesting little mess going on there now with everybody getting very upset at the Russians. All right, guys, I'm going to turn my screen up a little so I can see me and you. All right, I'm ready to jump in. Feel free. What you were just saying. Aus today is also Italian. Okay, that's what I thought. I was gonna, yeah, because I know like some of the translations in Italian are kind of funky. Like Switzerland being Svizzera is always weird. But then again, why not? Well, yeah, because in French it's Suisse, Switzerland. Although Switzerland is weird too, I guess. Maybe I don't know if that's a German take on it. In any case, guys, welcome. I am John Arvosis here in Washington. Well, no, not here in Washington, D.C. Here in Chicago now for the next month, visiting Ma and continuing to do these from here, thus a little bit earlier in the day, because this way I can hang out with my mother in the evening and be the good little son that I am. Scott, thank you for that already. As always, we'll start with me giving you a news summary, maybe 20 minutes or so, and then we will jump into maybe 25 minutes. We'll jump into a Q&A, question and answer. I usually go at least until a quarter after the next hour. We always welcome sunflowers, which are the national flower of Ukraine. I'll at least get you to a quarter after the next hour. And if you're really good, I'll stay and do more questions. Otherwise, at the end, we hang out for about 15 minutes and just hang and chat about other stuff. Your questions, as always, on TikTok, enter your questions in the Q&A feature. I think somebody said it literally is like Q&A. Svichera. You can anyway, it allows me to click a button, pull them up, and then I get all your questions in a row, which is really nice when we get to the questions. On YouTube, you guys know the drill. Just enter your questions in the comment. If you are so generous as to do a super chat question, I always promise I'll get to those first, because there's, God, I think the last one we did of these, I had like 150 questions on TikTok alone. You guys don't submit as many, but you do submit a lot on YouTube too. So as a thanks for contributing, if you do a super chat question, I jump to those immediately. So that's about it. Oh, the last thing is we have a new policy now that we developed. The last time I was on, we had a number of Russian trolls and Ukrainians who joined us. So we developed a sort of, or what's the word? Not endemically. I'm not sure what the word is. Organically, we developed a new policy. Thanks. I think it might have started with the TikTokers. I think you guys did it first, where first we had like the bad Russian troll. So everybody started putting pictures of there you go. Just what Ashley just did. Pictures of sunflower. They either were buying like the cool sunflower that pops up or putting sunflowers in their chat comments. So if any of the bad guys come up, any of the trolls, hit them with sunflowers. And the other thing was to honor our Ukrainian friends, because we have had several Ukrainians checking in. If we see one of our Ukrainian friends, let's give them a little sunflower hello. Or if they ask a question as well, we'll give a quick little sunflower hello for them too. All right, guys, I'm going to join right in. And moderators, always, thank you for being here. And I always ask you guys to give the moderators a little leeway, because I've been moderating communities since 1998. Online communities. It is not easy. The most craziest people are the easiest ones to figure out. What is difficult to figure out is people in the middle, and whether they crossed the line, and whether they're trolls, or whether they're just somebody having a bad day, or whether even you've misinterpreted someone. So any of that stuff happens. I apologize in advance. They apologize in advance. It does happen. Garrett's. Yes, Wendy. I only discovered that. I didn't actually know about Garrett's until several years ago. The guy who owns it had reached out to me because he saw my website at the time, America Blog, and said, "Oh, I love your work. I'd love to send you some." And I was like, "Sure." And he recommended this popcorn they make in Chicago that's very good. But he recommended it with the cheese popcorn mixed with caramel popcorn. And I was like, "Get out of here." He goes, "I'm telling you, people love it." I was like, "All right." It was delicious. But I was kind of going, this is, you're weirding me out here, people. All right, let me jump right in. So that's where we are. Russia hit, they claimed 300 targets last night. Lots of missile bombing going on across Ukraine. Lviv had a number of hits. 7 people died, at least in Lviv. Remember, Lviv is the town in far western Ukraine that is a really big town near the Polish border, relatively safe in the sense that obviously it hasn't been under direct attack as much as the folks in the east, Kyiv, but the Russians now are trying to really bomb sort of all over the country. I think it's twofold. One is to hit the actual military, infrastructure, period, not just military. They want to destroy factories. They want to destroy anything that can help the economy, help the military, right? Thank you for the sunflowers. I do see them on TikTok. And they're also trying to just terrorize the people. It literally is a terror campaign. Ashley, thank you for that. So it's both. Now, reportedly Russian troops from north of Kyiv, remember how the Ukrainians basically beat the Russians in the north, right? Well, those troops I see your question, Scott. I'll star it to save it for a sec till I'm done with this section. Those troops moved, the ones who survived. They took it, the ones who didn't get injured seriously took a week or so to sort of chill out. They've now been moved to eastern Ukraine. They're starting to enter in. And the big question now is when this big military offensive in eastern Ukraine starts. That is the next big thing we're looking at happening. It's going to be huge. It's going to be on open fields. It's going to be like World War II style. All the experts are saying, where quite literally, hundreds of tanks on each side. I mean, it's going to be bloody and bad. Interesting, because some of the military experts are saying they don't think the Russians are going to be ready for this for weeks. Like, they're not going to be ready. But that doesn't mean they won't start, right? Thank you for that, Shiva. The Russians are under a lot of pressure for a number of reasons. One, remember all this talk about Putin wanted like total victory by May 9th, the day that the Russians celebrate their victory in World War II over the Nazis. Well, since Putin keeps claiming, I keep meaning to not use that word. I don't want to trigger the censors on YouTube or TikTok, but as Russia claims that Ukraine is run by NZs, they want to sort of, have their victory over the NZs be that same day. So a lot of pressure on them to get something significant done. Then you've got the fact that the Russians have lost the first phase of the war, right? They lost the war in the north, and they're didn't do too well at sea either when they lost that huge ship, the Moskva, which I've got some updates on that too to talk about. So the Russians are under a lot of pressure to produce something, some kind of victory. Putin's threatening heads. And my suspicion is that that we're going to see this war in the East started very soon. One Ukrainian official today actually said the war in the East had already begun, that the Russians are already attacking, and that official perceived it as being the big opening salvo of that huge campaign in the East. But keep an eye on it, because I hope that the Russians are going to try to do it too soon, when they're not totally ready, because Putin's put pressure on them, because that only means they'll mess up even more, which would be good. That's it for that one. Mariupol is still hanging in there, hasn't fallen. As quick little background, quick sip of water. As quick background, Mariupol is strategic town, little less than 500,000 people. Thank you for that. Was that Uge? Might have been Uge. I'm not sure if it was French. Strategic town in southeastern Ukraine. Thank you for that as well. And it is important. The Ukrainians have been holding out. There's a battalion there holding out. The Russians have been bombing civilians now for, it's been a good 7 weeks now. It's horrific. A good 7 weeks they've been bombing the town, cut off the food, cut off the water, cut off all the power, the heating. It had been winter. Now it's probably getting a little more spring-like, but it had been winter the whole time. People are freezing. They don't have food. Lots of civilians are dying, and the Russians have damaged 90% of the buildings in the town, 40% of them irreplaceable, like totally destroyed. It's a bad scene. Well, last night, the Russians apparently put out another ultimatum saying, everybody better surrender, all the troops, blah, blah, blah. Or what? Or you're going to kill us like you're already doing. The troops said, basically go Russian worship yourself. Good of them. So now the talk is that the remaining troops are either all inside some steel factory that's super duper fortified, like against nuclear war fortified, like crazy fortified steel factory. And there may be another contingent of troops at another factory. Not entirely clear. Some differing reports on that. The good thing about them being in this factory is, I'm not kidding, from what I'd read, it was literally parts of it were nuclear warproof. So it's meant to be somewhere that's very hard to attack. The Russians have allegedly been bombed, not even allegedly, but from what the news is reporting today, dropping like nonstop bombs in this factory, trying to get the troops. So far, it seems not successful. Why does this matter? Mariupol is key to Russia getting that land bridge we always talk about, right? Remember how you've got southern Ukraine. Thank you for that on TikTok. You've got southern Ukraine, Crimea, which is the territory in the south that the Russians stole back in 2014. You've got eastern Ukraine right now that the Russians are trying to steal. And Donbass, you've heard about that region, all of that. The Russians want to steal that region and make it part of Russia. Well, what they want too is to connect the land in between the two. So their stolen region in the south and their stolen region in the east can meet up. The middle of that region is Mariupol. That's where you're hearing so much about this town. Now, the second reason this town is important is because the longer these troops, the Ukrainian troops, hold out, the longer that the Russians are forced to keep troops there. And by keeping their troops there in this battle, they're not helping out a little bit further east, or a little bit further north, actually, and a little bit east, which is the huge, big campaign for the East we're talking about right now, right? So that battle is about to start. They would love to have these additional troops that are fighting around Mariupol. Thank you for that, Wilson. But they can't get them yet because folks are still fighting in Mariupol. So that's why it's important. Now, let me see. Was there anything more? I don't think. One second here. 2,000 civilians, land bridge. Yeah, I think we're pretty good. The Moskva. So this is interesting. The Ukrainian, I keep saying Ukrainian. I'm still tired today. The Russian ship Moskva, which is that cruiser that the Ukrainians, and pretty well established Ukrainians, blew it up with those 2 Neptune cruise missiles, right? Blew it up last Thursday or so, Thursday night maybe. And finally an image came out that's been passing around the web for about a day now, maybe half a day. And the experts I follow say it looks credible. It looks to be a real photo of the ship. It looks like the ship was either in port or may have been just about to reach the port, because they were bringing it into, I think they were maybe bringing it to Sevastopol, the big port in Crimea that, again, the Russians stole when they stole Crimea. What the photos show is a lot of fire damage. When the experts went through it, basically, I did a TikTok on it, actually, where I even amplified the image a little. But if you look really closely, you see all these small holes going along the hull or whatever. I don't know if they're windows or what they are on a ship, but bottom line is you see black coming out of that hole, and like this with all of them, which is because there was a fire inside. So these are the flames shooting out, burning the outside of the ship. So what that shows is there was a massive fire in the ship. It was down below. What the experts were surprised not to see is they said it didn't look like a lot of the ammunition had blown up. A lot of the weapons that were actually on the top of the ship didn't look like they blew up. Had they blown up, you would have lost a massive chunk of the ship. Like they said, the front of the ship would have been gone if that blew up. It wasn't. They also, what was the other thing they had? Let me look at my notes. They had another interesting point. Not as damaged. The fire. It did look like the torpedoes hit it, though. Not torpedoes. The cruise missiles. There were clear marks of impacts by 2 big things. So it looks like the Ukrainians did hit it. But, I know. Final point was they wonder whether the Russians themselves may have scuttled the ship, that the Russians got it to port and decided this thing's just useless. There's nothing they can do with it now. And they just sank the thing. God, there was one final point with this ship. The Russians, still a bit thrown knowing my 92-year-old mom is in the other room. I feel like I'm 17 and back home again, visiting mom in Chicago. That's what's going on, which means mom won't be calling and cutting off TikTok. It's okay. I don't remember what else. Interesting little story about the Moskva that I threw in here too. Boing Boing brought up, and they're right, in terms of this being alleged, but they pulled up a story from TASS, which is, Russian state media from 2 years ago, claiming that this cruise missile ship that the Ukrainians blew up and sank contained a piece of the crucifixion cross of Jesus. Now, what the Russians claimed 2 years ago is that they had, a super small piece of it. It was embedded in a gold cross, which was then embedded in some reliquary or whatever, basically like a, super duper protected whatever place of honor in the cruise ship. Not cruise ship, but in the missile ship. And, I heard that story and I was like, who would do that? I mean, to me, it feels maybe, I wonder like if sort of the sailors out there would say, oh no, that's not such a weird thing. But as a layman, I hear that and I go, you're like associating Jesus with a warship. Like, really? And in the end, let's face it, either that piece of wood isn't real or Jesus picked sides, and it wasn't their side. Ukraine, good EU news, European Union news. Ukraine has submitted its questionnaire to the European Union this morning. It was the sort of the remaining part of their application to join the European Union. The reporting is that they could have candidate status in 2 weeks. What candidate status means, I don't know whether it means you're basically accepted, but it is, from what I'm sort of understanding online, it seems to be a very clear next step where they look and go, yes, we like you, we're willing to have you. And they then go through and negotiate with the country to adjust the country's laws. Because when you join the European Union, I always compare it, at least in America, maybe for you guys abroad too, but for America, it's as if you're joining the country for economic purposes. So in America, you would have to make all of your laws for commerce akin to the other laws for commerce in America so that commerce could happen. Like, for example, at the national level in the US, we've got regulations about, consumer product safety, about product labeling. So these are the kind of things I would imagine the EU has. How do you have to label a package? So in various EU official languages, things like that. The Ukrainians are now joining that market, or they will, hopefully. They then need to customize their laws and unify them with the European laws. So those negotiations have to still take place before the Ukrainians can officially join. But the candidate status, my guess is from trying to, and I've been Googling it, is you're kind of sort of accepted pending getting all your laws in order. So very big deal for the Ukrainians, big economic impact for them. Also, I'd say psychological and not spiritual, but in the sense that it gets them one step closer to joining. I mean, it is officially part of Europe, but joining Europe even more and pulling away from, the sphere of Moscow, in essence. Okay, that was good news. Zielinski, this was interesting. Zielinski today invites French President Macron to come visit Ukraine. And he said, I want him to understand that this is genocide. Now, he's saying it because Macron recently refused to say that this was genocide. Thank you, Penn. Appreciate that. Macron refused to say it was genocide. Remember, Biden finally came out, and Biden was waffling too. I mean, don't get me wrong. The U.S. first said it wasn't, and then we said we don't want to say. Then Biden said he thinks it is. Macron was asked about it, and Macron went back to his old fallback about, I don't want the escalation of words. And, it hurts peace when we escalate our language. And a lot of people gave him blowback for that because they said, well, it doesn't really hurt peace to call genocide what it is, because it's genocide. It's already harming the peace because you're trying to wipe out an entire country of people and an entire people, right? So Zielinski, that's what he said. So Zielinski invited Macron to Ukraine so that Macron can understand what genocide is. I thought that was very boom, kind of in your face. Putin. So Putin promoted some war criminals. Big surprise there. One of the units or whatever of Russian soldiers that were in Bucha. And Bucha's the really nasty town where when the media and the troops came in a week and a half ago, maybe, that all the civilians were killed. Remember initially there were 20 people along the side of the road. Not all, but I mean, hundreds of civilians killed, people alongside the road. One man was riding a bicycle lying dead. They literally shot him when he was riding a bike. Another one had his hands tied behind his back, which means he was executed. I mean, it doesn't get as more war crimey than that. You cannot shoot someone who is your prisoner with their hands behind their back because they're not a threat anymore. So that's Bucha. Well, Putin took one of the groups of troops that were there and he gave them a promotion in honor of their work. Again, that's what we're dealing with here. Just not that you all don't know that, but it's important. Another little interesting, I've got a couple more stories. We'll see. I don't want to go on too long for you guys, but let me just look really quick. I'll skip this one. I'll save it in case it comes up during the Q&A because I don't want to go on too long. The economic forecast, I'm going to bring this up. The head of Russia's central bank and the mayor of Moscow both publicly gave bleak assessments of where the Russian economy is headed. That's intriguing because when Russian officials go public, because Putin's official line is, remember, the economy is great, the sanctions aren't working. You've got the mayor of Moscow and the head of the central bank coming public and saying, not true. The central bank warned of that the consequences of Western sanctions were only beginning to be felt and more was coming. Moscow's mayor warned that 200,000 jobs were at risk in Moscow alone because Russian sanctions, businesses laying people off and all of that. A little more detail. It's the Russian bank chief, a woman, by the way, so kudos for that. She told lawmakers that while the sanctions' impact had largely been on the financial markets at first, they will now begin to increasingly affect the real sectors of the economy. For example, she said, practically every product manufactured in Russia relies on imported components. Let me read that again. Practically every product manufactured in Russia relies on imported components. I had no idea. This is from the New York Times. I had no idea. To this degree, everything produced in Russia, everything practically has got some foreign component. And what that means is the sanctions kick in, you don't get the foreign components, and now every product ends up getting stopped unless you can find replacements. She says factories may for now still have them in stock, I think she means the components. Oh, right, because they're components because they bought them and haven't used them all yet, right? So you've got a couple weeks supply, whatever it is of the foreign components. But because of new Western export restrictions, Russian companies will be forced to shift their supply chains or start making their own components. So that's a good thing. The last story is a good story with kind of a bitter side to it because it deals with the Russians being looters, but it's a good news story. So hang on. So Ukrainian troops, this is according to the I think the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, but the Ukrainian troops returned a cell phone to a 10-year-old Ukrainian girl. Listen to this story. Ukrainian troops returned a 10-year-old girl a smartphone that Russian troops took from her. Mind you, they took this girl's phone. Russian occupiers took away the girl's, this is what's key. Let me set this up. You know how the Russians have been stealing phones and stealing computers from people, stealing washing machines? Well, the phones, they've been using a lot of them to communicate because the Russians so screwed up their communications that they've literally had to steal phones from civilians to use. And that's part of the way that the Ukrainians have then been finding ways to blow up the Russians because the people report their phones stolen or the Ukrainian secrets. So, Kukla, mom's dog is now barking at the TV. Okay, you know what? Then we're all right, that's enough. Hey! Again, I told you we're at mom's. We're not just my dog, but now mom's dog. And each barks at different things. My dog will bark at people walking by. Mom's dog will bark at something strange on TV. Hard to say what exactly. Okay, she's calming down now. Anyway, so listen, right? So they steal the phones because they're using them in lieu of their own communications. And the Ukrainians basically are checking out the communications and going, well, let's see, this is a Ukrainian smartphone that's calling Moscow or calling some small town in the Russian Far East. Maybe that's not a Ukrainian calling them and then they blow them up and bye-bye. Listen to this. But in this case, they did not take this girl's phone because they planned on using it. Why? Because the Russian occupiers took away the girl's pink smartphone on March 15th when she and her family were evacuating from their native town of Trostianets, which was under Russian occupation. Took the girl's pink smartphone. This guy took it to give it to his child. That's why he took her smartphone, the son of a bitch. He wasn't planning on using it. If you were trying to get it away from her for security reasons, you'd take it and you'd smash it. But no guy in the Russian, I wouldn't use it. No guy in the Russian army is going to be using a pink smartphone. He stole it for his own daughter, the son of a bitch. So the Ukrainian military later found the phone among the belongings of a captured Russian soldier and returned it to the girl's family. That like made my day. I was like, man, 10-year-old girl, pink smartphone, and the Ukrainian authorities found it and were able to track her down, which I think is just wonderful. Anyway, so all right, that's it. That wasn't too bad. That was my good. That was my usual. That was pretty good. All right, guys, now we will switch to, I'm sorry, I did have a question here from Scott. Sorry, I meant to jump to it next, Scott. I'd started so I wouldn't lose it. Scott McNabb asks, can Ukraine theoretically declare war against Poland to initialize NATO forces to secure the region? It sounds like it's like springtime for Hler or something. Theoretically declare war against Poland. That's really funny. I mean, it's not going to work. I mean, because everybody kind of knows what's going on. I mean, basically, Ukraine would attack Poland, and Poland being part of NATO, NATO would be at war with Ukraine. It'd be kind of funny. And then NATO takes over Ukraine and says, Russia, get out. This belongs to us. I mean, the thing with that is that would be the kind of thing you would do if you really wanted to get involved, but technically, legally, you couldn't, and you cared about the law, right? Then you would try to find some goofy, crazy alternative reason to be able to get in there and do it. But you wouldn't need that kind of an excuse if we actually decided we wanted to get involved and just start helping directly, militarily, whatever it is. We wouldn't need an excuse like that. But like I said, so that would be, I mean, it's a cute question, but that would be like a legalistic excuse for trying to find a way to justify it so that we're not violating any UN laws or of war or anything else. So, we're not in that situation. Also, partially because we're not even thinking of helping out to that degree, which is still annoying me. A lot of the experts I've been looking at are still saying, I mean, I watched sort of the former generals, former colonels on TV, the US, and all of them are saying, it's great what we're sending. We're sending even more stuff now, which is great, but we're still not sending enough. And especially on the ammunition front, we need to be sending so much more to Ukraine than what we're sending, which is very upsetting. All right, let me pull this up and I'm going to see what we've got on the TikTok questions. Yep, ours is Kukla too. That's the Greek dog name. Well, interesting. Catwoman asks, or Catwoman who loves dogs asks, to be more precise, how much of Russia's equipment and soldiers are destroyed? I don't remember on the equipment front. On the soldier front, I just heard this today actually. On the soldier front, my dog just jumped on the chair next to me. She likes at mom's house. She likes to jump on the chair. Essentially, my house she can't because they're wood floors. We've got carpeting in here, so she jumps on the chair and likes to sleep literally on the chair next to me while I'm working. It's very cute. So what? In terms of troops, I was just hearing on CNN. One of our former this was Colonel Layton, I think, who's very good, and he said that, let's say 190,000 Russian troops originally invaded. He says now you've got maybe 40. He said basically 20% of that has been degraded, whether killed, injured, whatever. So he said that number would be like 40,000 out of action. I think that's probably a little conservative because we still probably think 15 to 20,000 Russian troops were killed easily, and it could be twice that number out. But conservatively, let's say 40,000, or 20%. No, 40,000. Yeah, 20% of the 200,000 ish of the troops were lost. They brought in new troops to replace them. The question is whether the new troops are good troops or whether they're the same. The draftees, the conscripts, who still don't know how to fight and all of that. So we'll see. The equipment, I know a lot of equipment, but I don't know. I think I'm trying to remember. At one point, I'm sure our guys are still doing it, but they had updates about how much equipment was destroyed, and they would literally go through and using like satellite photos, just total up the number of vehicles that we know destroyed, and then also try to use it for troop estimates too, saying, well, we know a tank should have 3 people, although I was reading the Russian tanks actually have been having 2. But anyway, that's all I know is on the manpower. That's the situation. And again, Russia's bringing more men in. So are they back to where they were or not? Who knows? Pavlo, my Ukrainian friend is here. All right, everybody, Pavlo's back. So give lots of, I think Ukrainian American, I think we said, but nonetheless Ukrainian. Give lots of sunflowers for Pavlo. Pavlo Androshik asks, would the U.S. need a legal justification at this point if Zielinski formally requested boots on the ground from U.S. and NATO? No, not at all. Not at all. We would, no, I think, and Pablo, you've got sunflowers popping up as well on TikTok, just so you know. Thanks, guys. That's very cute. I always love that. No, because Ukraine, what you need the UN justification, for example, the U.S. attacking Iraq, either war, we were not invited in by the Iraqis. We were going to war with Iraq, so to speak, right? So you need some kind of a legal justification if you care about international law. In this case, we are coming in at the request of the government legitimately to defend it. Now, what would be an interesting question is legally, and I don't know the answer to this, what would be an interesting question is legally the Ukrainian government can ask us to come in. Legally, would we need some kind of legal justification to be attacking Russian troops first? Or would we have to come in and kind of say, hey, we're just hanging out? Like, for example, a no-fly zone. Could we legally establish a no-fly zone just because the Ukrainians asked us to? And now the problem with you're going to hear my dog barking in the background because now she's begging at my mother for treats. Oh, like I said, it's gonna be nonstop. When we get to my mom's, it's like the zoo. We're like the Kharkiv zoo here. You have to hear my mom in the background trying to tell her to be quiet. Oh my God, it's too funny. She's just, my dog is. Oh, hey, Sasha. Sorry, guys. We're, like I said, visiting. Hey, come here. What are you doing? What are you doing, huh? I know. Stop. Hey. Even for DC, this is early. It's 4:30 in DC, and she usually does beg me early to eat, which is probably why she's doing this. But nonetheless, she's pushing her limits a little bit. In any case, but no. So what would be interesting is when you do a no-fly zone, the reason we haven't wanted to do it is, come here. I know you're fine. Come on up. We're not playing right now. No, we're not playing right now. I wish you could see her. She's on her back legs now, standing up like this, begging to me, doing the best circus dog. I don't have any of her TREATs. Down. You're fine. I want to come up. Come up. Come on up. Come on up. Come on. You may get the rare Sasha view if I'm lucky here. Anyway, my final point about the no-fly zone was to establish a no-fly. No, come up here. To establish a no-fly zone, you've got to knock out the. Hey, that's enough. Stop. Sasha. Oh my God. Yeah, she wants her BALL that's already on the ground and she doesn't know it's down there. You'd have to take out ground radar. Thank you. Come here. All right. Well, at least you get a Sasha sighting because of all of this. She wants to play ball. We're not playing ball right now. No, I know. It's not up here though. We've got it down on the ground. You had it and you lost it, as always. It's like having a child. She's on the anyway. Okay, we're gonna finish this, but you're gonna let me finish this discussion. To have a no-fly zone, you've got to take out the radar on the ground. You've got to take out surface-to-air missiles on the ground. That means blowing up Russian equipment and blowing up Russian troops. So to establish a no-fly zone, we'd literally have to attack the Russians. Would that be allowed under international law in a case like this? That's an interesting question. In other words, even if Ukrainians invited us to, I'm sure we could and we would find some justification for it, but it would be interesting to see how that justification what it actually is. Again, no one's been mentioning that as the problem. So that has not been the issue. All right, bring up Chloe. There you are, Chloe. The strikes in Lviv. What are your thoughts on these continuing? I thought of you when I saw Lviv getting bombed today. Yep. So Lviv is big city, Western Ukraine, right? Everybody, it's near the Polish border. The Russians had bombed it a few weeks ago when they were going after the oil refinery or oil storage, at least. Whether it was a refinery, I don't know. And this was when Biden was right across the border in Poland. He was still like a couple hundred miles, but Putin decided to bomb Lviv just to show off because Biden was nearby-ish, right? So, one sec here. We've now had increased strikes, cruise missiles probably, strikes against Lviv, a lot last night, a lot the previous nights. Clearly, Putin is trying to, thank you for that. Clearly, Putin is trying to, stretch his legs. He's trying to show off a little bit. He's trying to hit all of Ukraine. He's trying to scare people. He wants them to feel that even out west in towns like Lviv, where they felt safe, they can't be safe. I was reading somebody saying there was a new science museum in Lviv that the guy just took his kids to. I was reading on Twitter, and that's, I think, the kind of thing Putin doesn't want. He doesn't want people feeling like, it can be business as usual. You're sort of terrorized no matter where you live. The question for Lviv, towns like that, becomes a few things. Nobody thinks they're in danger of troops coming at this point, right? Because the Russians, initially, when they went after Kyiv, had they taken Kyiv, the capital, would they have then gone east to Kharkiv? Would they have gone southeast and trying to go into Lviv? Who knows? The bigger threat right now is just that. It's cruise missile attacks. And, a lot of us have been asking for a while why Russia hasn't done bigger cruise missile attacks against that. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't they? I'm surprised they didn't. So that's a little weird. Not weird, but strange to me that they didn't use the cruise missiles and just really blow up some of the biggest cities, like Kyiv to start with as well. I mean, they've been blowing things up on the outside, right? But they haven't done to Kyiv or Lviv what they did to Mariupol. Go in and knock out every government building. Go in and knock out every, commercial place, every, anything, every factory, just everything the town survives on to be a town, and just be total horrible people about it, which they are. They're not doing. So, no, I think at this point, you assume it's going to get hit hard with cruise missiles like everywhere else. I doubt troops are coming in right now, but like anywhere else, it's not safe. It's still more safe than Kyiv and certainly Kharkiv, which has been getting hit really hard. But anybody in Lviv, my guess is you're probably safer in a suburb that has nothing near it. But who knows? That would be my guess. All right, there was nothing. I'm looking here. There's nothing else on. All right, nothing else on YouTube. I go to TikTok for another question. TikTokers. Let me see here. Already a lot of questions from you guys. Excellent. And this is a good question. John Sarge asks, why can't Ukraine hit back in the heart of Russia? Because they don't have the means to. Meaning, how would you do it? One thing the Russians have been doing now over Mariupol, they've got long-range bombers they're using. I don't know. I'm guessing Ukraine probably doesn't have long-range bombers. The other problem is you've got to have air superiority so your bombers don't get shot down. Now, the air superiority question has been going back and forth in Ukraine, depending on where they are and everything else, right? Whether the Russians are in charge of the Ukrainians, it hasn't really been clear. Clearly, they were in charge enough to, well, here's the thing. Long-range bombers, I don't know where they fired from, the bombers that were going after Mariupol. They could have been very far away. I don't know. I don't know whether they were in Russian territory and using cruise missiles. Who knows? But you would need some weapon that goes very far, and you'd have to deliver it. And I don't think the Ukrainians have anything other than we saw the Neptune cruise missile that, what was the distance? Did we pull up the distance it can go? Was it 120 miles, something like that? Right? I mean, the ship was maybe 60 miles offshore. I don't know whether 120 or 80 is, it can't go much farther. 80, 120 maybe, but it can't go much farther. Moscow, we pulled up, for example, was 400 miles, 500 miles, I think it said, from Kyiv. What do you have that can hit Moscow 500 miles away? You don't have, you just don't have a missile like that, So that's why they can't do it. I'm with you. It's tempting, but the Russians keep pretending, or not keep pretending, the Russians keep saying, oh, if you hit our territory, then we're going to really get mad. It's like, okay, whatever, right. What, you get to commit war crimes? Lots of threats coming from those people. All right. Let me grab another TikTok, since usually we get inundated with so many YouTube questions. It's nice to be able to pull some TikToks up. That's another one we don't know, Woody. Woody asks, what happens if there's a possible chemical attack? I guess what you really mean is, what's NATO going to do, right? We are, in fact, providing some kind of material to help the Ukrainians in case of chemical attack, biological, hopefully nuclear. I don't know whether it's ways to decontaminate, whether it's the outfits, but we're supplying them with materials just in case. The real question is, what does NATO do? And I think that's what you mean. I had said the other day, my fear is, even with nuclear, that it's not really clear. I mean, we're going to do something more, but I fear it's going to be more sanctions, certainly biological or chemical. It's going to be more sanctions. And even with nuclear, meaning like a small tactical nuclear bomb, whether we're going to do anything significant, or whether we're going to kind of just, not let it pass, but say, oh, okay, now we're going to, maybe try to ban oil, but I don't know how you ban oil. See, this is the problem, is what else do you do short of getting involved militarily and invading? What else do you do? Right? Europe doesn't seem like Europe is going to be in any position to cut off energy. And that's what needs to happen. Putin is getting 30 billion a month from oil. The experts think if the oil got cut off, Putin would literally run out of money for his war right now. He wouldn't have any more money. That's huge. And it kind of makes me wonder, even though it would be so painful for Europe, don't cut it off for the next year. Let's cut it off for 2 months and see what happens. Let's cut it off for a month and see what happens. But just to start inflicting some pain, but they're not doing it. Or cut off half the damn energy imports. I don't know. But that's the problem, is I worry whether NATO would still be in this weird position of, we don't want to go to war, but we want to do more, but we can't do oil. Let's do more bank sanctions or some BS kind of thing that doesn't even rise to the resource, especially if he goes nuclear. I mean, come on. This guy uses a nuclear weapon and forget it. My hopes would be at that point that at that point, at least we would go all in on the kind of equipment we send, because frankly, the problem is we should be doing it, and we should be doing it anyway now. We should be giving them every single thing they can. Okay, if we can't give them MiGs, but at least on the ammunition front, we should be giving them, a bazillion times more ammunition, all the ammunition they need, all the artillery they need, all this kind of stuff. And we're still not. I mean, the experts still say it's great what we're giving now finally, but it's not enough. And that ticks me off. We should be giving enough. And I feel like we're not going to give enough until we get some horrid attack. Famous and a few. Thoughts on the mainstream media giving out too much info? This morning, CNN and CNBC were telling viewers troops and civilians were in a steel factory in Mariupol. I even mentioned that because it's been all over the news. Who keeps giving the media the info, and why report it? My only hope is that the info is being given out by Ukrainians who are, lower the little light a little bit here as it's giving me a migraine. God, I've been getting migraines the last few weeks. Ever since I had that horrible little nose surgery, it's giving me little migraines. There we go. We'll go a little lighter. You'll get a little more shade from me today, but you'll survive. Shade from me, exactly. The my hope would be that that's Ukrainians giving out the info. What I mean is the Ukrainian military has some reason where they want to put out, it could be disinformation, it could be correct information. I'm not sure, but I can't, as you said, how's the information even getting out, right? I mean, these guys have to have some kind of communication with the outside for the info to get out. And I doubt they're just calling mom and mom is calling it into CNN. So, and I saw it in the New York Times. So I'm suspecting it means either the Ukrainians or even U.S. intelligence is sharing the information on purpose on behalf of the Ukrainians. The question is why, and I don't know why. I don't know why that would be useful to have out there. I mean, I think the Russians already. Here's the thing, though: the Russians already knew they were in this factory. We've known for a week the factory was that, at least for a week, probably longer, that they were bombing this factory, that they were holed up there, and everything, and it was impossible to penetrate. So it may also have been a simple case of the Russians and everybody already knew it, so they weren't sharing any information that wasn't classified. And if the Russians already know these guys are there and they're attacking them, why not tell the world the Russians are attacking them? Because at least you're throwing a little more sunlight on more nasty things the Russians are doing. That would be my policy analysis. It's always possible that they're publishing information they shouldn't. And what the government usually complains about, the Ukrainian government, is people literally filming the bombs landing and the result. You know, you shouldn't be showing Russia footage of what the bomb hit, because then they're saying, oh, did it destroy it? Did it miss it? Did it get close? And it helps them fix their targeting in the future. It also helps them figure out, should they post the should they hit it again, right? Was it completely destroyed or not? So that's the kind of stuff they've asked people not to share. But this one, I'm going to hope that it's a simple situation of they either it caused no harm, or we're all in cahoots, and our government or their government said, yeah, let's share the information. It's beneficial to us to share it. All right, I got a few start. Chloe, I've got yours. Famous, it's yours. Harvey. Opinions on the British volunteer captured in Mariupol being put on Russian state TV. Interesting. And requesting to Boris Johnson to broker a prisoner exchange. Him for Victor Medvedchuk. Oh, God. Okay. That's almost funny, because one of the stories I didn't mention just because it was kind of a small story, but it's interesting in this case. Hold on, putting on some chapstick on my lips. The Victor Medvedchuk is I hesitate to call him a Ukrainian opposition leader, because he's not an opposition leader. He's pro-Russia. It's not the opposition. It's the treason party in essence. And he was under house arrest when the war started. He got away. The Ukrainians just recently recaptured him and have accused him of treason. You're going to be trying him without bail, of course. And the Ukrainians must have done this. The Ukrainians, my guess is Ukrainians set him up for this, but he did a video begging Putin to come rescue him and to basically do a prisoner exchange with the Ukrainian troops to come rescue him. The fact that the British prisoner is doing something very similar, and it involves, especially that it says Medvedchuk, means the Russians are trying to play the same game. Now, what's ironic in that case, though, is the Russians are basically admitting that a Ukrainian politician isn't even a Ukrainian, he's really a Russian. That the Russians want to do the exchange because he's really, in essence, because he's really a Russian. The interesting, though, and also interesting that it's the British prisoner. I think I told you when you brought this up several days ago, knocking you guys around, that I wouldn't be surprised if the Russians put a higher price on the Brit. And I figured, frankly, that they'd use him for sanctions. I'm almost convinced, why would they use him for Medvedchuk or something else? I don't think they would. If I were the Russians, I'd be like, that's okay, Boris, lift some of the sanctions and we'll give you your citizen back. Now I don't think Johnson's going to do it, but that would be my take on it. That's interesting. Yeah, I did not hear that. I saw the Medvedchuk today, but not about him. That's interesting. But knowing the Russians, they're playing games. Lisa Martin, if the Moskva, the boat that the Ukrainians blew up, had nuclear weapons on board when it sunk, would that have any environmental hazard? I had read, conflicting views on this. Initially, CNN, everybody said, did not have nukes on board. From what they know, there was some conjecture on Twitter by some of the experts that they felt it could still have had a couple nuclear weapons. Then I saw more analysis as to why that wouldn't be true. So generally speaking, from the experts I saw, they still feel like there aren't nukes on there. When the ones that were talking about there being nukes on there were talking about potentially there being environmental damage. I'm not sure why. What I mean is nuclear weapons certainly don't run the risk of just exploding on their own. Mind you, this is a Russian nuclear weapon, so who knows, right? I mean, this is the country of exploding watermelons. Google it at some point, by the way. Exploding watermelons, Russia. Way to go. But, the concern might be if an explosion damages the warhead and lets it leak in the water, right? I also don't know to what degree these warheads are seawater proof over a long period of time. I mean, the warheads they had were not torpedoes. From what we would assume, who knows, right? But from what we would assume, they were artillery shells or whatever they would be. I mean, I'm not the expert on this, but therefore it wouldn't be something made with the expectation that it could fall. Let's also see how deep the sea is there. It could fall so that you've got several atmospheres of pressure on it at least, and salt water, right? I mean, who knows? I don't know. But from what I was reading, yeah, they were worried about some environmental hazard if in fact there were nukes, but nobody really knows. Now, the final thing was there was some conjecture on the nuclear front as to saying if we saw the Russians rushing in and seeming to try to do rescue operations on the ship itself, that it might be proof of nukes or something more valuable. Others said it could mean that the hypersonic weapons were there. Thank you. My first sorting hat today, at least that I saw. Thank you for that. The final point I'll make is we really don't know where this thing sank. That photo that they released looks like the Moskva is coming into port on fire and stuff, and it's listing and everything. Having said that, we're dealing with the Russians. They could have faked it. They still could have faked it. They could have done a Photoshop of the boat making it look less damaged, right? Because we wouldn't want to embarrass anybody. But if that photo is real, it looks like it got to port. And at least at that point, the nukes wouldn't have been damaged. But since it sank, then you're there anyway. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know beyond that. That's interesting. Get this away. All right. Did I miss anybody? Up. We do have a few more here. Hang on. Or don't we? Don't. Prisoner exchange. Lisa. Okay. Up. Timothy. LaCroix or Lacroix. If Le Pen wins in France, what will be the impact? That's going to be bad. I mean, it's bad because she is pro-Putin. She's reportedly been trying to, I guess, calm down a little bit. This is the far-right candidate in France who did well enough to make the runoff elections. They're April 24th, so whenever that's going to be next Sunday, I'll bet you. Next Sunday. Saturday or Sunday, I think the 24th, in France for the presidency. She's with a far-right party. Everybody gets upset. Well, not everybody. Their followers get upset, but it's the far-right racist party, xenophobic, racist, horrible. I've got to check now. I keep asking, is it still called the National Front? It was the Front National for years. Her father used to run it. He was just, hello. I know. Hi. You want to say hi too? Come here, you. Okay. Come and say hi to everybody. All right. Up, everybody. This is Kukla. She wanted some attention. This is Mom's dog, Maltese Bichon. Now she's licking me. And of course, as I went to pick her up, my dog, Sasha, who's under the table, started going, brrr. She gets jealous of Kukla because Kukla loves me. And Kukla's funny because Sasha does not like to be picked up. Kukla's like happy as a clam right now. She's like, I've got her. She can lick me. Yeah. So he's going like this. Kukla, what do you think? Okay. She's licking my sweater. So, so Le Pen, super pro-Putin, crazy far-right party to start with. I mean, there's a big danger there anyway, right? You don't want, in terms of the creeping fascism internationally, she's a danger with that. As far as Russia goes, she's pro-Putin. She had embraced the attack on, she supported Russia, I believe, when he attacked Crimea in 2014. You want to go down now? Okay, you can go down. Oops, in 2014. Oh, don't take my mic with you, you hog. There we go. All right. The two of them crack me up. I always joke about the dogs as my dog is my grandma and the other dog is Theorini. It was Yaya and Theorini, like Aunt Irene and my grandma, because they would fight all the time, but they were like best friends. And these two get along great, but they still fight all the time and are jealous as hell. But yeah, so there's the generic autocrat impact that worries me, but there's also the impact in terms of with Putin, and she's pro-Putin. and she could throw a knot or a wrench into any decisions taken by NATO that have to be unanimous. I mean, at this point, we have to worry about Hungary. They're the worst. With her there, I would imagine she'd be the worst. But we got to be careful. I mean, France, Macron was 10 points ahead of her. I believe the polls may have even been tightening, which is just really scary. I mean, this autocracy thing, these autocrats around the world, these authoritarians, we've really got to stop this. But yeah, very bad, very bad. All right, let's go another TikTok. Oh, all right, guys. Still getting used to my new setup here, visiting mom in Chicago, so a little bit different than DC. Actually, I talked about Mariupol at the beginning, still being bombed very heartily. I saw that Sorting Hat. Thank you on TikTok. Still being bombed to the bejesus. The holdouts of the Ukrainian military and several thousand civilians may have held out inside a steel factory that appears to be hardened against nuclear attack. Like they really had prepared this factory, so they're having a hard time with the. They're having a hard time. The Russians are attacking it. And the good thing is, because the Russians are having a hard time attacking it, they're having to keep their troops there. And they can't take those troops and go further north and attack the Ukrainians in the east because they're right south of the east. So that's a good thing. Let me see your name, actually, to repeat it. Do you think Biden will visit? Diana Prez asks. So the issue here is there was a lot of talk about whether Biden should be visiting Ukraine. And, the administration, of course, in the way that I don't like, was discussing this publicly. And it was this very public debate. And the Biden said, should somebody go? If they go, should it be Biden? Should it be a senior official? And they kept answering questions but not saying they'd go. And Biden finally was asked, would you go? And he's like, sure. It's been going on for a week now. They need to stop this. And the point is that other foreign leaders have gone. It would have been, honestly, the day for Biden to go was when Biden went to Poland, and they didn't. And they should have gone across the border. He should have stepped foot in Ukraine. It could have been anywhere, and they should have done it. And, they were too afraid to do it. And frankly, I would have said, if I were president, I'd be like, you know what? Probably not going to get me killed. And if it does, I'm one man. But this is too important. You go there and you make a stand. He should have done it then. Now, A, it's a little bit copycat because everyone else is doing it. B, it's a little late. C, if you don't go, it still is like you're not going. So even if you're copycatting, you couldn't even do what everybody else has already done. That looks bad against you. And a negative to him going, and this is true, is if the president of the United States goes to a country like this, there has to be massive security. And this involves also massive security and staffing on the Ukrainian side. They would have to help plan all of this, plan the security with the American security. So you'd be taking away a lot of the time that some of these people would be actually, all of these people would be devoting to the war effort. That's a fair point. That's a fair criticism. But again, I still think this is the kind of thing that Biden should have done at the beginning, and he should have done it when he was in Poland, and it was a big mistake, and I have no idea why. I am not a Biden critic. I think he's done great for pulling the international coalition together, but he pulls punches on this war, and I'm not enjoying watching him pull punches. It's been pissing me off. Let me see. Boom. Harvey Kittle. Russian forces announced Mariupol would be sealed. Oh, yeah. And all residents would be filtered out in the coming days. Does it sound like the Russians are planning to wipe out the resistance of Mariupol? Something's going on. I mean, what specifically the Russians have been saying is they're not only sealing the town, but I had read yesterday, they're sealing like portions of the city. So you can't go from one part of the city to like sealing neighborhoods in essence in your city. So you can't go from one quarter to another quarter in the same town of Mariupol. And they're checking everybody's documents. And what they're doing is, which is really freaky, trying to find anybody who's a nationalist sympathizer or whatever, so they can execute you if they think you're a traitor or whatever, sympathetic to but mind you, this also means sympathetic to the Ukrainian government. I mean, it's a Ukrainian town. Everybody probably is sympathetic to the Ukrainian government. So it's kind of a BS thing anyway. Two, they're trying to find recruits to grab for their military. They've been doing, I put a video on TikTok a week ago showing them do this in Eastern Ukraine. And I've read more and more reports of them doing this and going into towns and just trying to steal people. Kukla means doll in Russian. It means doll in Greek. I don't remember it being doll in Russian. That's funny. Does it? No, it doesn't. No way. It means doll in Greek. That I know. Sorry, looking at Tina commenting really quick in here. So they're doing that to filter people. I'm trying to remember if there was anything else. The other thing I read was this Mariupol? I don't know. This wasn't. I saw the story. No, wait a minute. I do have this in my story. Let me see. I was going to mention it, but then we were tight on time. Listen to this. This is part of the filtration thing. This is really nasty. So we said they're trying to find the guys who they think are criminals, meaning anybody who supports Ukraine, to basically kill them. They want to find young men they can force into their own military, young Ukrainian men, which is really just insane. Listen to this. The Center for Countering Disinformation says that the Russians have been promising compensation for destroyed homes in Mariupol in an attempt to persuade residents to cooperate. But listen to this. According to the center, the Russians promised to pay compensation in rubles, mind you, useless rubles, to those Ukrainians who agree to receive identification documents issued by the Russians. They will then be forced to renunciate, meaning renounce. This has got to be a translation from Ukrainian, to renounce their Ukrainian citizenship. So if you renounce your Ukrainian citizenship and take Ukrainian documents, Russian documents, then they'll give you some money for your home and presumably give you some money for food, and now you're like a free citizen. They're holding these people hostages. And frankly, this goes to the genocide part, because that is exactly what you do when you are trying to wipe out a people. You are literally going in there and you are trying to wipe out any existence of these people being Ukrainian in these towns. And that's the definition of genocide. So, I mean, on the good side, the Russians are giving more proof. Somebody had already written that. Yeah, that genocide. Exactly. Yeah, no, it's very bad. Hope anybody else here? That's funny you said it's a little bit too Holocaust sounding. I thought the same thing. I read that and I was thinking, God, this sounds like Germans during the 40s. I mean, just the whole idea of, we're going to filter everybody in each town, in each neighborhood of each town, and you've got to go through a checkpoint or you can't go anywhere. And we check all your papers and we check up here, they strip the men naked. They look for the tattoos that somehow tell them they're nationalists. They question them. These are the things I was reading. They question them about, but it's things like to make sure they don't support Ukraine too much. Like how much they support their own country. I mean, come on. Who doesn't support their own country? And especially when you're at war. But that's like some check against you to mean you're a Nazi or whatever. I mean, really just awful stuff. Awful stuff. Katie? I'm going to go with Caddy. I'm sticking with that. President Zelensky, in a just released statement, said that the battle for Donbass is currently underway. Okay, that's what one of the people said earlier. Can the East survive till they get more resources? First depends who you mean, the East, right? Are you talking the Russians or the Ukrainians? I mean, okay, then this was something we were talking about earlier, that a Ukrainian official earlier in the day had already said the battle for the East has begun. This is the big battle out east, eastern Ukraine, going to be like World War II, open fields, lots of tanks, the whole thing. Just because the battle has begun doesn't mean the battle's begun. What I mean is the Russians could have begun the fighting. I think the Russians are beginning the fighting a little early, at least from the military experts I keep hearing from. What the experts keep saying is it's going to take, several weeks for the Russians to be really ready the way they need to be ready to fight this war in the East. Enough troops, enough equipment, everything else. My suspicion is they're starting early because of this artificial May 9th deadline that Putin put, where he said that he wants a big success. Well, he wants the war to be over or super successful by May 9th, because that's the anniversary of the end of World War II, meaning the day the Russians defeated the Nazis themselves, right? So my suspicion is that the Russians would have started the war too soon in the East because they're under a lot of pressure to get some gains and to take some land, so they may not be totally ready. If that statement came from Zelensky, it means clearly the Russians launched a major attack and stuff is happening. Now, Zelensky going public also puts more pressure on NATO to give even more stuff, because they're saying, okay, we've been telling you for days it's coming, it's here now, what the F are you doing? Give us more, right? Can the East survive till they get more resources? I guess I'm not sure. I'm going to guess what you mean by that is Ukrainian troops in the East, can they hold the land? It's going to depend to what degree Russia got the resources they needed, and we still don't know. Because as I said, a lot of people think it would have taken several weeks at least for Russia to get what they needed. The problem is, as you said too, Ukraine has to get the weapons they need. And even the things the U.S. is sending, they've got to arrive via Poland, they've got to transfer into Ukraine, and then they've got to get transferred. A lot of it's heavy equipment transferred from the western Ukrainian border all the way to eastern Ukraine, and it's coming on trucks, it's coming on sunflowers, it's coming on trucks, it's coming on railways. So, and it could even come, they were saying, by barge, like, getting them to Kyiv, the capital, and then using the river that goes down to get them close to the area. The question is whether they've got enough now. I don't know. I don't know that anybody knows. But hope to God, but I don't know that we know. I mean, again, that's where the Ukrainians certainly don't have enough for the long term. No. But the Russians probably aren't totally ready yet either. So I'll leave it at that. Paid in potatoes. Exactly. Rubles are probably worth about just as much as potatoes, if not less. Let me grab another. Thank you for the flowers, Brenda. Very pretty. Q&A on TikTok. That's an interesting question, Marianne. Marianne Carlson asks, why is Russia so afraid of countries joining NATO? First of all, it's not clear that they are afraid. What I mean by this is, I was watching one of our generals, maybe it was General Milley, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, I'm not sure, but one of our generals talking about how, or former generals, in the 1990s, he was talking to, I don't know, Russian foreign minister, some senior Russian official who wasn't military. And the government official is making this comment about NATO and, oh, you're always expanding and you're a threat to us or whatever. And I saw the general on TV and he said, I turned to him and I said, you should be thanking us for NATO because it's the only thing keeping peace on your western flank, meaning on the western side of your country. It's the only thing keeping the peace so that you can focus, so that you're able to focus on the east, meaning on Russia, on China, stuff like that. And the diplomat turned to the U.S. general and said, how did an American general end up being so smart? So basically kind of laughing and going, okay, you caught me. It's true. So depends who you talk to, whether they actually think NATO is a threat or whether they kind of recognize NATO for what it is, which is, it is a defensive alliance. And that these countries are joining NATO because, you subjugated them for half a century plus. So that's why they're joining NATO. NATO isn't expanding. The countries bordering you are terrified of you and they're looking for help. That's what's going on. Now, having said that, if you're Russian, I guess it's an alternate universe and you believe everyone's out to get you. And that is what they're certainly taught, right? Oh, the West is out to destroy them. The West wants to destroy Russia entirely, so it doesn't exist anymore. I mean, ironically, it's all the things they're literally doing to Ukraine, trying to literally wipe it off the map. They think we want to wipe them off the map, whereas actually we just don't really care about them, to be honest. But that's what's going on. So I don't know what to tell you beyond that, but it's, having said that, in terms of being afraid, it's embarrassing to them. I mean, a lot of their minions have joined Ukraine. Minions meaning the people they used to control. Eastern Europe, they occupied and terrorized for nearly half a century. They terrorized Ukraine. They literally owned Ukraine as part of the USSR, part of the Soviet Union. They took the Baltic states in the north, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, as part of the USSR. So you've got countries that were either part of the USSR or countries that were part of the Soviet bloc, like Eastern Europe, who have either all joined NATO or want to join NATO. And it's embarrassing as hell for the Russians because basically it's a repudiation of Russia as the basically follow-on state of the Soviet Union. I mean, Soviet Union was never really fully repudiated, really. There was never I saw somebody talking about this on TV the other day. There was never in the way that Germany had to have like a denazification after the war, there was never a de-Sovietization of Russia after the Soviet Union went away. Thank you for that, Ashley. I always love that one in particular. I like my astronomy. There was never a de-Sovietization. And you left with Russia in many ways being this sort of follow-on to the Soviet Union and inheriting all the bad stuff of the Soviets. A little bit of a freer economy, but all the corruption and all the warmongering and everything else they do, Fireworks too, Ashley. Thank you. We're on a run today, or on a roll today. So I think to some degree they're upset because it's embarrassing to them too. All of their little former buddies and their former countries want to leave them. Wilson, thank you for that too. Want to leave them. And it shows that, just that to quote Ayn Rand, people always hate when I do this, but thank you for the things too. She was no matter what you think of Ayn Rand, but it's a great quote, but she's asked by somebody who just gets on her nerves. And he says something like, God, why don't you ever tell me what you think of me? And she looks at him and says, but I don't think of you. And I always love that. To some degree, that's the problem with Russia. Once the Soviet Union was gone, we were kind of done with them. They're annoying, but they weren't a big threat, and they were just kind of annoying and backwards, and they want to stay that way, unfortunately. Thank you, Wilson, for that. And that's kind of, I think, we would love just to have Russia go back to that. If they want to be backwards, okay. As John McCain called them, a gas station with nuclear weapons. I mean, if they want to be that backwards, let them be that backwards in their own backyard and, whatever, but stop beating up other countries and stop acting like you're the king of the world. What else we got here? All right. I'm not, hold on. I'm trying to see if there's any other regular YouTube questions that I'm missing. Let me pull this up. Dylan Brook, how do you view the aftermath of the war? Will Zelensky face a war tribunal in Russia? Well, I mean, they would have to win, right? The Russians would have to get their hands on him. My suspicion is Putin would love to, kill Zelensky, but realizes even that that may be a step too far. I wouldn't be surprised if he put him on trial. Absolutely wouldn't be surprised. War isn't going to end that way. I mean, that's a good way of guaranteeing that the sanctions don't go away for a very long time. A very long time, if that happens. But it certainly isn't going to end that way. No, I don't think so. I mean, I think, unfortunately, the better Russia does, the more we're going to help Ukraine. But I say unfortunately because I think it's going to be late. Thank you for that on TikTok, that we should be doing it now. We shouldn't be doing it, waiting. And we seem to be waiting until things get worse, whether it's war crimes or something else, and then we do more. And even now, like with Zelensky saying the fighting in the East has begun, now we're going to probably give more weapons because the fighting in the East began. And it's like, should have done that weeks ago, So anyway, a little annoying. Becca Engelman, Tina ST from Ukraine, I think. Okay. Oh, I missed something. I'm sorry, Tina. Sorry about that. I'm looking at the Tina Street. Asked if it's possible to close the skies over Western Ukraine. Okay, this is an interesting idea. This is something that I've seen some Western military people, former military, proposing, which is if we can't do I was going to say open skies. It's not open skies. If we can't close the skies over Ukraine entirely, because that would require us to go to war with Russia, what about closing the skies over Western Ukraine? And the idea is you come in, and I mean, hell, you would certainly take this chunk in the west that includes Leviev and goes all the way down to the south. You could even potentially move it over. I mean, you could move it over to that river I was telling you about that's near Kyiv and goes down. You might have to stop at a certain point because you start running into the battle area. So in other words, you do it everywhere there, like a big chunk in the west going to the center that isn't at war with troops on the ground. You got the Russians sending missiles, but you don't have troops on the ground. And you set up a no-fly zone there. And what that lets you do is first of all, since the Russians in principle don't have radar on the ground there, you don't have to destroy the radar and the missiles. The only problem is, from what friends were telling me, is the Russian missiles, they thought the Russian missiles could go about, basically you were in danger up to 400 miles away. So if you had a no-fly zone, you had to make sure everything 400 miles out from there was also safe. Now, that's going to throw you into Belarus. That's going to throw you significantly into Russia, too, because remember we said from Kyiv to Moscow, it's like 500 miles. I kept thinking that's longer than that, but that's what Google told me the other day. It was only 500 miles. So that's the thing, and I don't know if anybody military here knows, but from what my military friends were telling me, you'd really need to expand it. So it depends how safe we feel like it with that no-fly zone. But you could do it if you're not worried about having to hit rocket launchers in Russia or whatever, because what I guess it allows you to do is say, look, we're setting it up in the East. This is for peaceful purposes. If you attack us, we're going to war. But if you don't attack us, there's no war, Russia. So leave us alone. Oh, and if you send cruise missiles in, we're going to be knocking those out of the sky because this is our no-fly zone that we've set up. And cruise missiles fly. But since cruise missiles aren't manned, it's not really an attack on Russia. We're just going to blow up your unmanned weapons that enter this territory. You could. That would be a smart way for us to ratchet things up, but ratchet it up in a way that doesn't declare war, because we're not killing Russians, and we're never going to kill Russians if we're doing that. Now, if the Russians decide they want to fly in and bomb, in our no-fly zone, then they made the choice. And then the Russians are the ones, choosing to make this possibly a fighting war between us. But you've got to have, I think it's a great idea. A lot of our military leaders out of government have talked about it. And we haven't heard anything because, again, Biden really doesn't want this to be a war with Russia. And that is one way of having a risk that it goes that way. And I don't think he's willing to take any risks in that regard. And again, I support Biden. This is one of the things I fault him for. I think he's projecting weakness on this account, where he's making it very clear that he doesn't want to, he's almost, afraid of us getting into war with Russia. And it means you're not willing to take any risk at all of the war starting. And I think you have to take some risk. That's the whole nature of, defending yourselves and defending your allies. So anyway, that's my take. Sorry, guys. We'll go another 5 minutes. Oh, boy, I'm tired today. Again, it was like flying yesterday. It was very, very exhausting. And then sleeping in a new bed. Ooh. But we'll go 5 more minutes of questions. We'll go till 20 after. And then I'll hang out for 10 minutes and we can just chat. Q&A. And then let me know, as always, if I forgot anything. We'll go 5 more minutes. Be kind. Thank you for that. Yeah, we'll go till 20 after. All right, another TikTok question. TikTokers. I have seen many segments of the Zielinski Tapper interview on CNN. He was very good. Michael Drawson asks. Yep. Yeah, Zielinski did an interview with CNN's Jake Tapper. Talked about negotiating and giving up land and said he never would, which I think good for him. Texas Ranger asked, do you think NATO will join the war? This is kind of the problem I've been telling you is I still feel like we're so afraid of Russia that at this point, I wonder if we join the war, if they use nuclear weapons, if we'd still go, we're afraid. I'm a little afraid we might, that we might still kind of bow out. And I'm afraid that Putin knows that. And I think it makes him more likely to do these outrages because he knows we're very, very, very afraid of getting involved. Well, you can't know. Sorry, because Vero was asking from Chile. Are there more Ukrainian troops headed to Mariupol? No. I was just watching a former colonel of ours, American, on TV talking about it and saying that the Russians have been able to successfully cut off Mariupol so that there's no way of getting reinforcements in now. We can't get any more troops in. I think up until now, they've been able to get in some military supplies and things, but I think that stopped. So now they're really able to yawn to you guys again and make you all tired. Sorry. They're on their own now, which is bad because you think time is running out if they truly can't be reinforced. But he was suggesting that they can't be. No. Sorry, see if any questions are popping up on here. Okay. No. All right. Oh, no. I'm not sure which warning. Sorry, but Sharky Chomper asks, can you talk about Russia warning NATO and USA? They keep warning us like every day. Remember they sent that letter? Putin sent a letter a couple days ago, like Friday. It was like a very sternly written letter. I'm just tired of his warnings. I really am. I think it's all threats. Not threats. It's all a bluff. He's doing it because he knows that our leaders are scared of getting into war with him. So he keeps saying, I'm crazy. I'm going to use biological weapons. I'm going to use chemical. He's doing it to scare us, I don't know that NATO has, Modek Missy, says NATO let Ukraine down. NATO has been helping a lot, but not enough. And that's what I don't like. We've helped a lot, clearly, but it's not enough. And, Ukraine, Ukraine isn't a member of NATO, so we weren't required to come defend them. But, and frankly, I felt the same way about Kosovo. And I was totally supportive of the U.S. going into Kosovo because there was a genocide going on. And you just, you get to a certain point. You can have wars between people. You get to a certain point where if it's feasible to intervene, you've got to intervene. And in this case, it was feasible to intervene. We could have really stocked Ukraine up with weapons to start with. Frankly, we've been giving them a lot of weapons and stuff. We should have been giving them 10 times more. And, it's just, yeah. So ironically, we have been a big helper to Ukraine, obviously, but we've still left them down because I think as I mentioned the other day, we started off thinking that Ukraine was going to lose in a couple days. So we didn't want to even give them weapons because we thought, a couple days they'll be gone. Then we went, hey, these guys are actually fighting. Like, these guys aren't so bad. Let's give them some weapons. But if we give them too many weapons, they might win. And if they win, that's really bad, because then Putin will be in a corner. And if Putin's in a corner, he'll use biological, chemical, or nuclear weapons. So it was this funny thing of helping them, but we almost wanted it to be a tie. And I think we've now moved on beyond, it's like those 5 stages of grief that used to exist. Thank you for that, 2075. It's like those stages of grief where we've sort of gotten to the next stage where it's like okay, no longer do we want a tie. We really do want Ukraine to win, but we're still afraid of entering the war. So we're going to start giving Ukraine the weapons it needs, like artillery, but we're not going to give them enough. It's a weird kind of letting down where we've done a ton, but we've still done a ton that we keep pulling our punches. And I don't like that. Yeah. And I think, again, it sends mixed messages to Putin, and that's the risk. Putin should be getting a very clear message from NATO and from the United States. And currently, the message is, we're terrified of you, but we're starting to give Ukraine more anyway, but we're really afraid of you. Where does that get you? But I am more hawkish on such things. All right, guys, let's wrap up the substance there. That's it for today. I'm going to hang out another 10 minutes just to chat, and we can hang out and do our usual chat about anything else thing. But God, I really am tired today. I think it's because like I said, from yesterday, I'm glad I did this earlier. I would have been a zombie tonight. I slept, but I still woke up a lot because it was a good night's sleep, but it was a new bed and all of that. So, oh man. And my allergies, of course, are still going nutsy cuckoo here. So what else is going on, guys? Mom is good. I know we're at the yawning, exactly. Exactly, Lori. We're at the yawning stage of the talk. So you always know when the yawning kicks in, I'm out. But yeah, we'll hang and talk for another 10 minutes just amongst ourselves, which is always good. Tractors in Finland. Was this the sister? I don't think I did. I don't think I did see the tractors in Finland. I've been seeing like some tractor protests or something similar in other places. Oh, sister's puppy was adorable. I was going to grab video last night and I didn't. She came to visit. The dog is, I don't know, maybe up to 2 pounds now. All black, adorable little Yorkie poo puppy. Like, I mean, this big, but big ball of black. So kind of hard to photograph because it's all black. But the thing is adorable. Was pretty good with my dog and mom's dog, but then finally got a little too comfortable and was annoying them. Like the dog finally got really comfortable with them. And then it was like, our dogs were like, okay, that's enough. Just stop jumping on my face. But the thing is so cute. Loves to crawl on your shoulder for whatever reason. So like I'm sitting on the couch, immediately got on me and went like a cat, like went, just super adorable animal, this thing. Taryn, thank you for that. But really cute. Yeah. Traveling is tiring. I don't know why it is. It's weird. I mean, it's like 1 hour time change. That's not a big deal. But I get tired traveling. Even, I mean, it's only an hour and a half flight, but the coming in with the dog, everything about it just kind of, I feel just still wiped out a little bit. Weird. Very weird. But he's okay. He's okay. I will recover. So do we have too many trolls today, or was today pretty normal? I wasn't able to, I'll put on my glasses so I can see better on TikTok. Were things normal today, or did we get like the crazy people come in? I stream every day. Because I'm visiting Chicago for my mom for a month, the times are a little off. So during the weekdays at this point, I'm going to be doing 3 p.m. Central Time. So that's Chicago time. I think that's 5 hours behind UTC. It should be. So that would be 13, 15, 20, 100 hours UTC, I believe. But during the weekdays, I'll do that. Weekends, we'll probably stick with what we always did, which was 2 p.m. or so, 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. Chicago time. So again, you'd have to compare Chicago to wherever you live. But mom guest appearance, I don't think so. I'm still protecting mom from all of my politics. I've done so much politics over the year. I've been afraid of getting my family involved in it. But anyway, yes. So tomorrow we'll do 3 p.m. as well. I'm going to write myself a little note to make sure I put up the notice. I usually put it up as soon as we're done with this, 3 p.m. But I think this is a good. I mean, again, we'll see if it keeps being fewer. The problem is it's going to be fewer Americans, which is too bad. It's hard to do in the evening because then it sucks my whole evening. I mean, at mom's meeting, because like we often hang out and watch TV and stuff in the evening. So I like to be able to do that here, but we shall see. We shall see. If I'm really getting bad turnout, I'll do some in the evenings if I have to, but I'd rather not. But you never know. I might do some at 7. Although that would push the only problem. Excuse me. The only problem with doing the evenings. The only problem with doing the evenings here in Chicago, because we're an hour earlier. If I did like 7 or 7:30 here in Chicago, that's 8:30 Eastern, so it's even later for Europe. Thank you for that. I saw that. It's even later in Europe, so that gets to be an issue too. So we shall see. We shall see. We shall see. We shall see. What else we got going on here? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just see it's going to be 80. It's going to be 80 on Saturday. Wow. I did see 80 was coming up, which is crazy. Yeah. That's insane. That's insane. I am Sagittarius. And I believe somehow people make these connections. It's like cusp of Capricorn or whatever they call it. I'm right on the edge of Capricorn. My birthday's the end of November. So I'm right on the edge of, see, I got you yawning now too, Wendy. Sorry about that. And my allergies are going, I don't know why. Yeah, no, I always like visiting here. But I know it almost is. The only problem is it's 4:30. If I go to nap now, I'll be a mess. Yeah, it was snowing here. Is it starting again? No, it was snowing here last night, which is wild, kind of weird, kind of pretty, but at the same time, I'm like, snow. It finally is getting up to 70s again in DC, and I'm getting used to it. And today's been 30s, and like that rain feel, like it felt like winter in Paris, which people think would be beautiful, but it's actually cold as hell because it's like wet and cold, and it just cuts right through you. But I'm going to be here for another month. I figured, I can. Mom's old, like to visit her. I can do this here. It's a little weird. I like doing it in DC better with my setup, but this works actually. You get the glorious 1940s paneling to enjoy. What could be better than that? The light's a little strange. I've got this other light, like I said, I got it. It's annoying me a little. I got a little bit of it ever since I had that nose surgery. I've been getting these sinus headaches, and I really don't get sinus headaches, so it's been ticking me off a little bit. I am not the guy who gets sinus headaches. Please let these stop. Oh my God, will the sunshine help? Yeah, it probably will. I wasn't even thinking of that. Jet lag it's only 1 hour. I don't think it's that big a deal. I'm just tired because yesterday I went to bed early. I really was tired. And I think it just, it just kind of catches up with you a little bit. Yep, that's not a green screen. That's a brown screen. I always thought of buying a green screen, but it's kind of a pain. Just because this way, at least this is already a bit of a pain, but I can set this up and kind of leave it. I've got like my laptop, a microphone, my arm for the phone, and the light. And at least I can kind of move it out of the way so Mom doesn't feel like her family room has turned into a studio, a TV studio, so I didn't want to kind of do that to her. So yeah, like I said, I've got this cheaper light from Amazon that works pretty well though. It's just, it could be a touch. Well, no, actually it needed to be bright because like the brightness we've got is from the window here. Like I could always try that next time. I probably could do that. Yeah. It's a little bright, but at least I could turn down the other light a little bit there. We'll figure it out. All right, guys, I'm going to say good night or goodbye. Good night. I swear to God, I could take a nap yesterday. I so could take a nap yesterday. Travel was busy yesterday, Aaron, which is really weird. I flew Southwest, but super busy. And I was very surprised because I figured like Easter Sunday, not my Easter, but Easter Sunday, people wouldn't be flying. And they told me at the airport, but they said, oh my God, no, it's been so packed. It's been crazy there. So for whatever reason, been super duper. All right, TikTok, I'm going to say bye to you guys first, Slava Ukraini, because as I know, you guys are like a minute behind whenever I say goodbye. I'm just yawning at you guys. I'm sorry. You guys are a minute behind, so I'll say goodbye to you first. So don't be upset when I finally hang up mid-sentence because that's the way it works with TikTok, apparently. And then you guys here. And yeah, I'm glad you at least got to see Sasha and Kukla today. So a rare double sighting of the dogs. Kukla doesn't get as annoyed. Oh, yep, they're both in the little. I've got 2 dog beds under the table. So I've got Sasha in this one, and then Kukla in that one. It's very cute. So Kukla likes me. I'm one of the guys she likes a lot. And she likes Sasha, and Sasha doesn't like her very much. Sasha will play with her, but gets a little nasty to Kukla, which is unfortunate. So, all right, guys. All right, I'm going to sign off. All right, TikTok, I already had said goodbye, so it'll be mid-sentence, but hopefully not too mid-sentence. TikTok is always like a minute behind. It's really weird. All right, bye, TikTok. So, yep, tomorrow, 3 p.m. Chicago time again. And I will see you guys then, and hopefully I'll be more awake. Woo-woo. Oh, my God. Maybe it's afternoon. I never think of that, too, because maybe when I do this at night, I think I'm one of those people who goes through that weird, like falling asleep thing in the afternoon, and then 7 o'clock comes and I'm suddenly awake again. Maybe that's what this is. This is like my body going, take a nap. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. My eyes are even watering from the yawn or the allergies. Oh my God. All right, guys, tomorrow, yeah, we're still do 3 p.m. Chicago time, and we'll see. Maybe I'll move it around because we probably are missing a lot of the Americans, but it's just, like I said, evenings are really hard, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.